Yesterday, it was announced that Starlink is going to be complying, sadly, with the Brazilians' request to block X from its services. Now, as many of you guys know, if you've been looking on Twitter, there has been a massive battle between the courts in Brazil and Elon Musk. They're not happy with him, of course, because Elon Musk is, well, uncensored, and he's spewing the truth and allowing anything to fly on social media these days that's not violent or illegal. And well, that's obviously not got the Brazilian courts very, very happy these days. And so now they are completely banning him and making sure Starlink does just that. But it's disturbing because it shouldn't be happening in the first place. Brazil shouldn't be censoring its people, and they should be able to access information at any way possible at this point. So all of this extremely, extremely disturbing. Joining me to discuss is Brazilian Congressman Eduardo Bolsonaro. He is also the son of Javier Bolsonaro, the former president, and he joins us now. Eduardo, I want to thank you for joining me today. This is very important that we discuss this push to censor Brazilians on X. And, you know, it's not just X, it's also Rumble as well. They're not happy with free speech. And so they're looking to crush anyone in its way. Now, sadly, your president, Lula da Silva, has said that Elon Musk is far right and anything goes on X. Why do you think that they're actually censoring Brazilians from being able to access the platform, though?
They're trying to kill the movement headed by former President Jair Bolsonaro, my father. This is the main thing. It's not about free speech or even hate speech. This narrative that they create, trying to justify the censorship, is just because they want to kill a movement. Because if they let us to speak, as we have the truth on our side, they do not have a chance in the debates. So the only way that they find, as they try it, to cancel us, saying that we are Nazi, fascist, homophobic, xenophobic, whatever, and nothing of that worked. So now they're trying to censor us. That's the truth. And as Elon is the only one that is fighting to preserve free speech in Brazil, people now is asking, are the other platforms also receive illegal orders from the Justice Alexandre de Moraes to censorship the conservative voices on other platforms, and they are hiding that? This is a question that I would love to be answered by the other platforms.
Yeah, yeah. Well, here in the United States, you know, we just recently learned that Mark Zuckerberg is apologetic for censoring Americans on his platforms because the government told him to do so. So it's discouraging to see that when the administrations apply a little bit of pressure, these platforms comply and they don't push back. If they would all stick together, they'd be better off. But sadly, platforms like Facebook and Instagram here in the United States don't do that. Now, speaking of the US, we haven't heard anything from our current president, President Joe Biden, on the censorship going on in Brazil. What are some of your thoughts on that?
It was a very weak response from Biden administration. The only thing that I saw is the U.S. Embassy here in Brazil saying that they are following closely this fight between Alexandre de Moraes and Elon Musk. So, in fact, they are not considering that is a Brazilian government kicking out American company that is fully following the due process of law and our constitution here in Brazil. So it's very weird. It's very weak. I'm not satisfied. It doesn't look like a government administration trying to really fighting for free speech, because in the end of the day, this is the system that Biden administration and Kamala would love to have in United States. They never say something against when, for example, the old Twitter kicked out Donald Trump in 2020 or 2021. So this is the new normal on their heads. They think that they can bring this situation to be the new normal or the great reset, whatever you call. Because if you look for the Europeans are not talking nothing about this going on in Brazil. So this is very sad, but we are fighting back against all of that. And we have a big hope that United States, maybe with a new president, can really face this situation as not a conflict between two individuals. On one side, Elon Musk, and on the other side, Alexandre de Moraes. But yes, a situation about a government from the South America kicking out an American company. Because if you see things like that, maybe tomorrow the Air Force One of Brazil can be arrested, just like happened with the Venezuelan Air Force One in the Dominican Republic. Because this is what, finishing here, Breanna, this is what Alexandre de Moraes is doing. He just freezed the bank accounts of Starlink in Brazil, and he's arresting some of the gods of the company. But I have to remind that Starlink, only 42% of the company belongs to Elon Musk. All the rest of the 58% of the company is not up to Elon Musk. And this is weird because the conflict is up to X, not Starlink. So it makes Brazil be an unsafe place to receive foreign investments. And even us here, we have to say that Brazil is turning again a banana republic.
Yeah. Yeah. And we're seeing it's pretty much identical at this point. We're seeing the same similarities going on in Brazil happening here in the United States. And it's just heartbreaking to see play out. But your family is very familiar with the lawfare attempts that are being used against you guys as well. We just recently covered a story regarding Felipe Martins when he was arrested. Now, Felipe was your father's top advisor. He was a close ally, and he was arrested, but he was never charged with the crime. Now, the most egregious part in all of this for our audience that might have missed out on this story, Felipe was never charged with a crime, and he spent 6 months in prison. Now, it was all because the judge, the same judge that we just spoke about, is the same person who locked him up. He was just recently released. Again, still not charged with the crime, but has to wear an ankle monitor. We don't know why. It shouldn't be happening in the first place. But Eduardo, what it sounds like to me is that they're trying to target some of your father's closest allies, because ultimately they're trying to go after your father and incarcerate him next. And it's not because of anything that he's done. It's because the Brazilian people love your father. They have always loved your father. And they see, so does America, your father as someone very similar to President Trump, a fighter and someone who gave the Brazilian people freedom. And so they're trying to go after him in any way possible. What are your thoughts on Felipe Martins being forced to be incarcerated for 6 months and still not a single charge being pressed on him?
It's very easy to explain for the American folks what is going on in Brazil. It's the same thing that is going on with Trump. The difference is the same with virus. The difference between Brazil and US is because in Brazil we have less antibodies here. So this is the problem. But going back to Felipe Martins' case, I really, really thank you, Breanna, for the opportunity to talk about that. Because it's not only unfair, because all you said, 6 months in jail, no charges, now he has to stay at home because he's has electronic monitoring under him. But yes, Americans, please listen to me, because Felipe Martins, he went to jail because the Justice Alexandre de Moraes told that he ran away to United States.
Yes.
But his lawyers in United States got some papers saying that he have never been in United States in the end of December. First thing. But weeks later, with 1 month that he was in jail, American authorities told him that a new entrance, a new registration inside of the immigration control of the United States was created, but using a non-valid anymore passport, an old passport that Felipe already lost 1 year ago. And when the American authorities they were warned about that situation, they changed it again for the valid one passport of Felipe Martins. What I'm trying to tell you is, one bureaucrat is enough to change all the movements of the immigration control in the United States. If they did that with Felipe Martins, that proved that he had never been in the United States in the end of December, they can do that with any terrorist. You need to take a look precisely in this case, because it must be a leading case to you change the law about immigration in the US.
Yeah. Yeah, it is a security issue. And sadly, here in the United States, unfortunately, under Joe Biden's leadership, we've had hundreds of individuals who are linked to terrorism, specifically ISIS, make their way into the interior of this country. And then ICE has to go and collect them afterwards after they've let them in. And like you said, it shouldn't be happening. And we spoke with Felipe's attorneys, and one of them, told us specifically that it was going back and forth, that they didn't know if he made it into the US. Then they were, oh, no, he didn't. It shouldn't be that way. We should know who's entering our country. and they don't. It was a lost passport again. This was all well documented, and they used the document. And I want to drive that point home. They used that document. Judge de Morales used a document that's not meant to be used in court, and it specifically cites that you cannot use that in court because it's not accurate. And they still use that against Felipe and use that for means to incarcerate him. So to me, it just sounded like they were looking for any excuse to go after Felipe. Do you think that they are looking to go after your father in all of this? What do you think the end goal is at this point?
For sure, Breanna. We have a new case in Brazil called, we call it in Portuguese, Vaza Toga. I don't know the right translation for English, but the thing is, this case is the case about the WhatsApp message leaked by journalist Glenn Greenwald. So what Glenn Greenwald is doing, he's publishing some articles in the Brazilian newspaper Folha de São Paulo. And one of these articles, when he's analyzing the message between the judges that, in fact, are the assistants of Alexandre de Moraes, one of the cases, for example, they picked me to be investigated. As they didn't find nothing to accuse me, they tried to use the creativity. So they got a picture that I have holding a flag of Argentine independent media called La Derecha Diario. And the owner of this independent media, La Derecha Diario, his name is Fernando Cerimedo. This Argentinian, Fernando Cerimedo, he made some live streaming after the Brazilian elections, criticizing the Brazilian election. So what they were trying to do is link me with Fernando Cerimedo to say that I am anti-democratic and try to send me to jail because of that. Because in the investigations that they didn't find even $1, nothing wrong with my accounts, nothing wrong with my family, with my car, with my house, whatever. So the way that they were trying to jail me is because of that. So in this scenario, they can send anyone to jail. To finish, not a long time ago, a couple of months ago, my father was under investigation because he passed by a whale on the sea. My father, he was riding a jet ski on the coast of Brazil. He passed by a whale, and in this case, it turned into an investigation. But in Brazil, you have a tourism where the tourists go to the ships to watch the whales on the sea. It's just crazy. But for me, it's a big honor. It's a great honor to be investigated, and things like that are happening because it proves that I'm honest and I'm a regular man and I pay my bills and I have nothing that they can use to arrest me.
Yeah. And I think the people of Brazil see just that. They understand that your family has the best intentions for the country. And that's why they're on your side when it comes to all of this, because they keep, like President Trump, they keep trying to strike your family and trying to get anything to stick. I mean, even going after your dad for what they claimed alleged fake vaccine cards, which is so absurd. But again, it highlights so much that's going on with your family. I kind of wanted to end this, though, Eduardo, on a positive note. For those in Brazil right now who do have the opportunity to watch this, because it's going to be very hard for them to do so. But how do you guys overcome this level of corruption and censorship, being that the highest court is, not only preserving it, but is the one that's pushing all of this?
I have a big hope that the electoral court, with the new judges that are going to form the electoral court next year, maybe in the end of the next year or beginning of 2026, when we have the new presidential elections in Brazil, with these new judges in the electoral court, we can overturn the ineligibility that my father received. My father cannot run for president in 2026. First, because he met ambassadors and criticized the electoral process of Brazil, as if it was a crime criticize elections. Only dictatorships you cannot criticize elections. And the second thing that they used to turn my father as non-eligible is because he made part of the protests of September 7th, which is the Independence Day of Brazil. They say that he abused of the political power to generate those images. But in fact, September 7th of 2022, it was the biggest protest ever in the history of Brazil in favor of a president. So we have a hope that we can overturn all of that. It's clear for everybody that Alexandre de Moraes, who turned my father, who was on the head, he was the chairman of the electoral court, when they turned my father non-eligible. So he's a suspect judge. So if you still have a democracy, we have to cancel, to annul all the decisions of Alexandre de Moraes against my father and their supporters. So we are working on that. We are creating some pressure from abroad to force Brazil to do justice, to do something fair in our democracy, and we have a hope that we can overturn that. I think US with a new administration, you can help a lot and bringing back again the leadership of the United States. Do not let in countries as Brazil to kick out American companies as they were dogs from our territory.
Yeah. And we need to do that. And there's nothing wrong with questioning an election. You're allowed to do so. There's no reason why we should be stopping people from just
Hillary
asking
Clinton
basic
did
questions.
that. Hillary
Yeah.
Clinton, all of the left wing, they did that in 2016.
I know. We have the tape too, which is so funny because all of them were so critical of our voting machines here in the US in 2016. But then 2020 came around and you can't even speak about the voting machines anymore. You just have to accept the results and you have to say it's the fairest election we've ever had in American history, even though they never investigated election fraud tips that came in. So we just have to keep repeating that line and then they won't come after us either. I mean, that's just kind of the same thing that's going on in Brazil. And it's absurd. It shouldn't be happening. That's not a healthy democracy. And it leads to more people to be suspicious because they don't want to have these healthy discussions, but we should be having them. Eduardo, I want to thank you and your family for all that you guys do because you guys represent so much of what's going on right now in the world and the fight, the lawfare fight, the corruption that's going on and how we have to push back on it. So thank you so much. And we really will be praying for you and your family because this is really, really important.
Thank you very much, Breanna. I appreciate. If you pray for my family, keep praying. We are going to win this war because we
Yes.
have the truth on our side and we are fighting not for money, but for the future generations. Thank you, Breanna.
Yes. We have to. Thank you, Eduardo. I have no plans to stop talking about this incredible sale that's going on right now until they actually end it at this point. But you guys, when you head on over right now to mypillow.com, you got to take a look around. There are plenty of incredible offers going on. And well, you're not going to want to miss out on this. Mike Lindell has $25 specials on a lot of his pillows, bed sheets, towels, so many of his items, even the dog bed, slippers, sandals. They're all $25 right now. Now, to secure these low prices, you've got to use that promo code BRE. That's promo code BRE. That's how you lock in these savings. So head on over right now to mypillow.com, take a look around, and if you're looking to save, which I always recommend you do because budget economics is rough, use that promo code BRE to secure and lock down these savings.